And we all know how easy it is to control elections with this electronic voting. And after this election, she apparently just kept pursuing her course, and they killed her, is what I see. And it's funny, Dan, because there's all kinds of contradictions here. I mean, you know, it's when you read the original article, they talked to a senator named Don Thomas, who was a physician, and he said he knew the couple well and that he believed Bruce Schaefer, 74, had cancer. And then, you know, in today's article, they're saying that there's no evidence that he had cancer, and they had financial problems. So these people are just grasping, you know, to cover this thing up.
Absolutely. And you know from investigating things like this that this is what they do. They just come up, and of course they own the media, so they can you know, allow anything to be written or said in the media. And not only that, but every article that's been written by any major news source, not one of those articles contained anything about Nancy Schaefer revealing child kidnapping, rape, and so on. They did not talk at all about her involvement with that. And actually, the young lady who came on my program, Sheridan, she actually read a handwritten note that Nancy had sent her in the mail 3 days before Nancy was murdered. And in that note, Schaefer said that she was actually resigning as the president of Georgia Eagle Forum, and she was moving to a national position as director of parents' rights for Eagle Forum. So she was planning on going nationally. And Nancy Schaefer was also in fear for her life. She was invited to come and speak in July in D.C., and she had made a request that in the hotel room that she was going to be staying in, that both sides of that hotel room contained security personnel to protect her. Now, you know, most people would think, okay, we're just going to have like security with us, and they'll stay in the room next to us. No, she wanted both sides of her room covered by security. And she was also using phones that were untraceable. Nancy Schaefer was to communicate with people and tell them to come and to be interviewed for the documentary. She would use a phone that was untraceable, or was a phone like a throwaway phone or something. You know, where you buy the minutes and it's not connected to your name or something like that. And that way, because she wouldn't use her own personal phone because she didn't want anyone. She was, I believe, of course, why would you do that? Because you think somebody is tapping your lines.
Right.
And we know how easy the government has, you know, because of laws like the Patriot Act, how easily they can tap your lines and your computer. There is no security, by the way, in this country. We have no security. They know everything about any of us.
Well, you know, this is interesting because when you take a look at this, of all the people that they could have interviewed, they went to a fellow senator who happened to be a physician. I mean, you know, if this was legitimate journalism, they would have went to the family physician and asked him, you know, what's going on with this.
Right. They
could have gone to the coroner who did the autopsy and asked him. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, that's really interesting that you bring that up, Paul, because I have to say that, you know, we've been reading going through the Georgia laws, and of course, we're trying to use a law like the Freedom of Information Act to get some information about her. But of course, they have a stipulation in the Georgia law when any time there's a homicide or a murder or any kind of a crime like this, that they can basically bury the files or make them inaccessible to the general public. So we can't go, you know who, I'm sure you do, I'm sure you know who former FBI agent, how could I forget his name? I apologize. I hope he's not listening.
Just tell me what he did.
He's a former FBI director of the Los Angeles office. He was really big in the 90s exposing the Clinton crime syndicate. And his name will come to me in a minute. I apologize. But I spoke with him the other day on the phone, and he offered to reconstruct the crime scene. He offered to to investigate this and help us, take a look into this. And I have to tell you that that was really exciting. But the problem is, how are we going to get the information? The only way we can really get the information is from the family. Now,
well, the thing about this is this is where, to me, it really gets frustrating. There are police officers that were involved in this investigation that were told what to do and where to look. It's very likely, that this is a professional hit, and they're going to clean up the crime scene, right after it's over. The newspaper is, they came out and they said, first it was he shot her in the back, and then in the article today they're saying they don't know who shot who. And that tells me that they didn't find any powder burns in either one of their hands. I mean, this is all common sense. And as a result, they're trying to say, well, we don't know who shot who. Well, bottom line is she was shot in the back.
Right.
I mean, people don't go around and commit suicide by shooting themselves in the back.
Now, by the way, that former FBI agent was Ted Gunderson. And but you're absolutely correct. The story kept changing. We've heard, and now this is hearsay, so I'm not going to say this is true or not, but this is like some of the information we're getting, that the Georgia Bureau of Investigation was called in. Now, we're wondering why they were called into this, but they were called in, and the first thing that the GBI did was they contacted the filmmaker, a gentleman out of Tennessee, who was interviewed on Alex Jones. Now, here I am in touch with Sheridan, and I'm not going to give Sheridan's last name because she doesn't want me to use her last name, so I'm definitely going to honor that.
Absolutely.
Sheridan was interviewed on my program. She was like the first person to come forward that was near Nancy to say anything about this, and she had been in touch with the filmmaker, and all of a sudden the next day, on Thursday, this filmmaker a producer is on Alex Jones. And now the filmmaker told Sheridan, when they were talking in a private conversation on the phone, and Sheridan did say this on my program in front of everyone.
Go ahead. Finish the thought that you were where you're going before the break.
Yes, I was talking about the fact that this filmmaker had mentioned to Sheridan on the phone that he didn't want to believe it. Everything was looking like it was a murder, that it was a double murder instead of a murder-suicide. And then all of a sudden he magically appears on Alex Jones the next day, and he's telling everyone that there's no doubt in his mind that this is a suicide, murder, that he did. Her husband, Neil, did kill her, did shoot Nancy Schaefer, and then killed himself.
Yeah. Well, he didn't want to be the next suicide is what it sounds like to me.
Well, it sounds the same way to us, and now we're really concerned about what's going to happen to the integrity of the documentary. I mean, obviously he can,
I'm surprised, Alec. I mean, I'm not surprised, obviously, but that's pretty intriguing that he had that interview on Alex Jones' show. But getting back to this film producer saying it was murder-suicide, I mean, what do you think that is? What's going to happen with the film that he was working on?
Well, I have to tell you, I personally believe the film is going to be compromised. I think that Nancy, this lady that I've been talking with, Sheridan, and we've become very good friends, by the way, and I'm going to be meeting her soon. She said to me that she believes, and this woman is very careful about what she says. Because she doesn't want to spread anything that isn't true, or say anything that might not be true. She said, now, although I've never seen it, I believe that Nancy Schaefer did have in her possession a list of people, high-ranking government officials, that would have been a smoking gun and would have blown the doors wide open and demanded, screamed investigation. Sort of like it did during the Franklin cover-up, of course, with the DeCamp memo. But what happened there was, of course, what did they do in the Franklin cover-up? All these kids had been abused and raped by the police chief, by the leading, by the wealthiest guys in town. I mean, and
it went beyond there, as you know. I mean, we're talking. It was national political figures.
Right. Oh yeah, and then they were sent to D.C. So that they even went on tours of the White House, and I do remember that. And then of course DeCamp's close friend, the former chief of the CIA, all of a sudden, I remember this also very clearly when he all of a sudden supposedly fell out of his canoe, and they found him days later dead.
One of the things I told you when we talked on the phone is that I've just recently joined the Constitution Party. I mean, I'm convinced that, both of the major parties, Republicans and Democrats, both have to go because this is a national problem, and so are both of these national parties. So tell us a little bit about the Constitution Party and what you guys stand for and everything along that lines.
Well, we stand absolutely for states' rights. We stand for the Constitution. We believe that all of our elected servants, and I do call them servants because that's exactly what they are, should honor their oath of office, and when they don't, we should have the ability to throw them out of office. And we are 100% for parents' rights, states' rights. We're absolutely that the people are the sovereign. We are the sovereign, not our government, and that we should end the Federal Reserve. We should end the Internal Revenue Service. There should be no graduated income tax, and that we should go back to constitutional lawful money. The one thing that the Constitution Party does in our platform, when we state it, we give right off the bat in our party platform, we give our gratitude and we give honor to God, our Creator. That's one thing that we do that's different than the libertarians. We believe that we need to be in submission for God, that God's in charge of all things, and that we need to make that statement and get back to honoring His will and His laws. Because right now we're violating the natural laws our forefathers wrote about, Jefferson wrote about, that natural law. We're violating that. And that's why
the rule of law, which the rule of law has been totally decimated. I mean, here you have a woman whose daughter was raped, who ended up having to give her daughter back to the perpetrator, and this is what we live in today. Is we're living, what they ruled about, what the founding fathers wanted more than anything else was the rule of law. That everybody would be subject to the same laws. It didn't matter whether you were the President of the United States or whether you were, a street sweeper. Everybody had the same protection under the law. And this is what's been taken away from us by these psychopaths. These satanic psychopaths have taken this away from us.
Absolutely.
So what I'm getting at, Dan, is for me, if you're looking for a legitimate alternative to what's there, then you need to look at, these third-party movements. You need to look at the Constitution Party, Libertarian Party. The point is that we need to start from the bottom up. Change is not going to come from the top down. It's going to come from the bottom up. We're talking about child molestation, not just that, but, the things that I've written about, we're talking about satanic ritual sacrifices. We're talking about, what was reported about the Grove. Tales of
Bohemian Grove?
Yeah. What was written about Bohemian Grove is not anywhere near the truth of what actually takes place there.
Right.
And these people they view us all as their property. I mean, they think they own us.
Yeah.
And that they have the right to take our kids away from us and abuse them sexually.
And then murder them.
And murder them.
And that's the other part of it. What you said about the ritual sacrificing. See, this is a part of it that no one wants to talk about. Okay, there is child abuse and there is problems and this and that, but don't talk about child ritual sacrifice. That's way beyond anything I can handle. Well, they're counting on you reacting that way. They know that it's so out there that you would never believe it because they've so thoroughly brainwashed, I should say brain-soiled us into believing a certain way, to thinking a certain way, through the entire indoctrination that they've given us from the moment we were born to our present age or to the day we die, through all the media, through the television, through the radio, through entertainment.
Dan, it's time to start another movement here in the United States. What do you think? Let's get one going, my friend. I'm going to have you back on the show.
I'll be in touch with you, Paul.
That would be great. And for our listeners here, you haven't heard the end of this. This is the beginning, and there's going to be many, many articles that are going to come out about this. And Dan, obviously, you and I have agreed to work together on this in any way we can. And I just want to thank you for being on my show today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it, and God bless you, Paul.
Thanks, Dan. Okay, so there you heard it. What's going on? I mean, we're talking about a good politician that stood up and tried to expose this evil, and she was murdered. Now, I'm going to tell you something. There's a lot less worthy cause you can give your life for than this. And, email me, pdrockton@AOL.com if you want to do something about this.